Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be assembling folio set number 1. I have already pre-cut my card base out of red basil cardstock and my decorative panels out of a couple of different patterns of printed cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead and start the assembly process. The link to this folio is going to be in the description below, so definitely check that out. So I kind of went ahead and pre-placed everything together by sections. So this is going to be the main part of the base. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this and pre-score, or burnish my score lines. That way this can be done in advance. I'm also going to do it for the other pieces as well. So whenever you are using your Cricut, Silhouette Studio, Cameo, whichever machine you have, you definitely want to make sure that you have your settings correct for score lines. And that is detailed in the instructions when you download the file. Okay, so it comes with a SVG file for Cricut Design Space, and it also comes with the Silhouette Studio file that you can use for a Cameo. Okay, so again, I am just pre-scoring all of my score lines just to have this part out of the way. Also, keep in mind, if you are going to be using magnets or anything under the decorative pieces in order to close your folio, you definitely want to pay attention to where those are going to be going, where you're going to place them before you apply the panels. So once we have the folio itself assembled, we'll definitely put our magnets in before we start placing down the decorative panels. All right, so I have those all pre-folded. So now I'm going to go ahead and start the assembly process. So I'm going to take the base here and I'm going to add, let's see, this is going to go to the left. So I'm going to glue my tabs on the inside of my base because I don't want the corners to show on the outside. So I'm going to go ahead and take my Barely Arts glue. I just put it in a different container just for the purpose of using this fine tip. Okay. And definitely try to get this aligned as straight as you can, depending on how you feel comfortable placing this down. You can also use tape if you choose. I like to use glue because it allows you a little bit extra wiggle room if you don't have it correctly aligned where you want it to be. All right, so there is that piece. Okay. Next, I'm going to go ahead and attach the cover closure. So this is going to go this way. Again, putting the glue on the tab to place it on the inside. Okay. Again, try to make sure that it is straight as possible. You have the edge lined up and it's not, see, you definitely want to keep an eye on each angle from different sides to make sure it's not in too far or extending out too far. Also, I like Barely Arts glue because it does dry clear. It is fast drying and it definitely has a strong hold. All right, then I'm going to attach this, this piece is going to go up top as a closure. Okay, and I want to try to center it as much as possible between this score line and that score line. All right, hold it down, take a look. Okay, it's pretty straight. Next, I'm going to add this down fold, and this is going to go, I guess it could go that way versus this way. Yeah, let's do it. So typically I have it this way to where this piece folds out towards the right, but the way I pre-folded it this way. I'm going to keep it with this side. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold it the correct way that it should go. And this is going to go on the inside this way. Okay, close that. Again, you want to align this as centered as possible between the score line here on the right and the score line here on the left, because this is also gonna need to be centered. So these two pieces, you want to fall right in the middle of each other. Okay. Also, pay attention to this. Whenever you're opening and closing it, you want it to have that clearance to be able to open and close freely. Okay, so that's good. All right, next is going to be attaching our decorative panels. Now, these are going to be cards that are going to be in accordion zigzag style on this side. And these are going to be placed on top of the decorative panel I use here. So I'm going to wait to attach these until after I have my decorative panel on this side. Also note that the way this is going to be folded, it's not necessary to have a magnet on this side. In this instance, I want the magnet to be here and here and here and here. So if you are placing magnets, definitely go ahead and apply those if you choose to in these 4 spaces. So again, that's here and here. And then when you close this, here and here. So before you apply your panels, place your magnets. Or if you're using Velcro dots, you can also do that after you place your decorative panels. Okay, so to design this, I'm gonna go ahead and start placing my decorative panels. I am not gonna be using magnets, I'm gonna be using Velcro. So I'm going to go ahead and decorate since I don't have to worry about the magnets in this instance. Again, using a fine tip adhesive is going to be best in my opinion, because you don't want there to be gobs of glue oozing out on the sides. You want it to be very neat. And also, if you use gobs of glue, it's going to kind of I guess destroy the integrity of your paper, because it's going to be a little bit more ruffled, and you don't want that. You want it to be very fine lines of glue that dry quickly and dry flat. Again, you can also choose to use tape. So keep that in mind as well. If you use tape, you want to make sure that you're placing it down as accurate as possible so you don't mess that up. All right, so for the cover, I do want this to kind of be a little more uniform. So I'm going to go ahead and apply my decorative panels to this. So these pieces are going to be the same for this, from the front and the back. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this. And this is where it is kind of important to pre-lay out the panels how you want them to be in advance. That way you kind of get an idea of where they're going to be positioned. Okay. Also pay attention to the size of the border around each of the panels. You want to try to make it as even of a border around the entire piece as possible. All right, so then, nope, that's not for that. On this side, I'm going to use this piece. Okay, so I see. I am using 1, 2, and 3 on this side. This is going to go on the inside. Okay. Gonna attach these. And you want to try to get your edges. You don't have to go down the center if you don't choose to, but I just like the extra security of placing the glue down the middle of the panel. But again, it's completely up to you. Go ahead and lay this as flat as possible so I can make sure that it's nice and stuck. Next one. I really enjoy putting these together. You can use them for all different types of occasions. Instead of giving a card, if you choose to make this instead, it's something that is typically that will last a little bit longer than a card, in my opinion. Especially if you're adding photos or poems. You can add you know, pretty much anything to this. Handwritten notes and sentiments. So the possibilities are endless. Okay. Again, try to position it as centered as you can. Alright, so I have the entire outside cover main panels done. Now I have these smaller pieces that are going to be placed here just to kind of take up some of that space. And you want to make sure you're using the correct size for this as well. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and glue these down. You don't have to use these smaller pieces if you don't choose to. Completely up to you, but I'm using them in this instance. They are sized to fit directly in between those score lines. So again, try to be as neat as possible and make sure they don't overlap the score lines because you're going to be folding this open and closed, so you need them to be able to move freely. Also, if you're using tape, this step might be a little more difficult because if you don't have a thin piece of tape that you're using, it will be difficult to glue that small piece down. So keep that in mind as well. All right, now this is completely done. I'm gonna flip it back over to this side. We're gonna go ahead and attach, let's see, this is not the correct piece for that. Let's see, it could be. I'm just going through and repositioning. Okay, so as you can see, this piece is smallest. So I believe this does go here. These two will go here and here. Now it may be hard for you all to see the score lines, but yes, okay, so this is how this layout is going to be. I'm going to go ahead and put this down. Again, pay attention to where you're placing magnets. Make sure you place those down before you adhere these panels. I tried to pick coordinating colors of the red so that it would kind of go all together. So this will be a little bit different, but I think I'm gonna like how it turns out. Watching the score line on this side and to the left. Then this one will be next. I hope you guys decide to make this and it comes out beautifully. I also like this design because you can choose whichever color, theme, pattern you like. You can print out pictures for all of your panels if you want to, or you can make a poem as the panel. You can cut out a smaller rectangle and add white space for you to handwrite something, or photo mat a poem on top of the decorative panel. Again, as I mentioned, the possibilities are endless, so definitely take it and run with it and make something really nice. And it doesn't take very long. That's also what I like about it. Just cut everything out, assemble it, and decorate it. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the decorative panels on this. Now for this, the close position, I want this piece to match. Okay, so that's going to go here. Keep that in mind. However you choose to cut these out, make sure that they are positioned in the correct way that you want the panels to be seen upon opening each section. Just gonna burnish that from the inside. All right, so all of these are going to go here. This one, let's see, I'm going to put it this way just to mix it up a little bit. Yeah. And the inside is done. Next is going to be this second outside area. Okay. Now that is done, it is coming together. I am also going to go ahead and add a couple pieces on the inside of the remaining exposed pieces. Watch those score lines. Okay, we are almost done. If you do have a little bit of glue ooze out, the Barely Arts glue is really good for being able to wipe cleanly and then just rub it off your fingers, the residue anyway. And this last section, this piece is a little thin, but I'm just going to work with it. All right. Now, before I place these onto this side of the panel, I'm just going to make sure that this folds nicely. Let's see, here and here. Again, if you were going to put a closure here, you could, magnets, or I'm going to use Velcro dots. And that folds up really nicely. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pre-place my panels before I attach the panels to the folio. It's because it'll be easier. Again, pay attention to the borders. Try to make it as even as possible. Lie flat and burnish it down. I'm gonna flip it over. Now, if you choose to forego adding the decorative panel to this, you can absolutely just cut out pictures and apply the pictures directly to the panels. But this is something that I prefer to do just for the look to be as cohesive as possible. And I'm going to place pictures on top. Or you could do letters to spell out a name. Keep in mind it's 6 panels, front and back. Or you can do anything. Like I said, possibilities are endless. Hope I didn't do the back of this one. So just be creative. Alright, almost done. Switch it and do. Just because you've pre-folded it in one direction, you can absolutely flip it in the other direction, especially if you're using a decent thick cardstock that isn't going to tear easily from bending too much. And that's what I highly recommend. A lot of the paper packs that we have access to are not solid core cardstock, meaning it's not the same color all the way through. It's a white core, meaning they just print the decoration on the inside. And sometimes those can be a little thin. So if you're using that as your card base, in my case, I'm using the Basil, the red, as my card base. But sometimes the flimsier, lighter weight papers can not hold up as well over time. So I recommend monitoring the purpose that you're going to be assembling this for, what you intend for the person that receives this to use it for, and plan accordingly. Definitely consider the weight of the paper for the longevity of it before you make it. If you want them to keep it as like a photo album gift, they're probably going to want to keep it for a while, and you want it to kind of hold up a little bit longer. So invest in a little bit thicker or heavier card weight. All right, almost done. Have this last panel here. We're almost done. And the back. All right, so now that I have that done, I can go ahead and apply it to the inside. Now there is a trick to doing this. You want to kind of pre-position where you want them to fall between the top part of the folio and the bottom part of the folio. So you don't want to position this down here, because when it's closed, this is going to be sticking out. You want the bottom edge of this to line up with the bottom edge. So that means you're going to glue this tab up here towards the middle, and the rest of your panels are going to need to fit between this space. So I always start by adhering the top one and the bottom one first, just so I know how much space I have to work with in between. Okay. Also, try to get this as straight as possible. You don't want them to be crooked. I'm just going to line that to the top. Okay. Burnish it, make sure that is nice and secured. So that's going to be the first panel. Now, if you choose not to lay this out in the way that I'm doing it, you can apply these in different areas. If you want to go here as a pop-up feature or here as a pop-up, feel free to be as creative as you like. So I'm going to adhere this next tab. Again, not here at the bottom. You want to align it at the top. So I'm going to place this at the edge and then press down wherever this tab falls. All right. So now I know I have this much space to get the remaining 4 of my pieces adhered. I'm also alternating the position. I forgot to mention that. So I put this towards the left, and I'm placing this one towards the right. So it's going to alternate left and right on each one. So because I'm using 6, it's going to work out perfectly. So let's go ahead and get this one adhered. And I'm only going to leave about 1/8 of an inch of space in between this tab and the next tab, just because I know I have very limited space to work with. Okay, then this one I'll place here. That one is a little bit more space, but it's okay because I only have 2 left. Pay attention to either design pattern as well, if that's something that's important to you. In this instance, it's not that big of a deal because the coordination matches. The colors are very similar. Okay, that one glued down. And then this final one. And then I'm going to add my Velcro, and we will be completely done with Folio Set number 1, Assembly and Decoration. Definitely stay tuned for more tutorials, more designs, more download links where you can get these beautiful folio files to be able to cut them out on your very own Cricut or Cameo and make some really, really nice projects. So there's that. Also, if you wanted to add Velcro or magnets on these, you can, or if you wanted to add some sort of closure, you can definitely do that. But this is the final result. So you have your flip down page here that can be tucked away here. Then you have that to close, and your folio is complete. So I'm going to grab my Velcro dots really quickly. Okay, so for these, I'm going to go ahead and secure it on one side, place it here as centered as possible, remove this piece, and these are from a Dollar Tree. And then you want to make sure that your folio is lined up properly, how you want it to close. Okay, glue that down to the other side, and there you have your Velcro dot. Also going to add one here. Using the same technique, close it first. I'm going to attach it to this side because you don't want to place this too far down and then it doesn't even reach. So I want to apply it here to this side in the center. Peel that one off and burnish this a little bit more. Okay, place that, and that's also done. So we have our complete folio. This is folio set number 1. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope you like, share, subscribe, leave comments below how you like this folio design. If you plan to make it, definitely check the description below. You will see the links. I'm also likely going to be listing this on my Etsy shop as well, this final product. So thank you again so much for watching, and until the next one.